Hey, what is good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're gonna learn how to set up Vulkan on your macOS operating system. Now, this video will be an in-depth video, meaning that I'll be taking you guys step by step on how to properly set up the Vulkan SDK and also how to include it in your project so that it can start rendering some nice little graphics onto the screen. Now, we won't be creating a renderer, just we're gonna be setting it up so that it can work on your project and you guys will do the rest of the work. Alright, so this video, since it will be an in-depth video, it will be divided into 5 parts, so you guys can skip to whichever part you guys want to start on. So part 1 will be downloading the SDK, part 2 will be installing the SDK, part 3 will be setting up the environmental variables, and then part 4 will essentially be creating the Vulkan project, and then part 5 will be testing that project to see if Vulkan has been properly set up. So let's open up Google. I'm gonna clear my throat real quick, sorry about that. And then we're gonna type in Vulkan SDK download for Mac. And then what you're gonna see here is you're gonna see a bunch of links. What you want to click on here is the one that says Lunar Exchange, and then it will say something like getting started with the macOS Vulkan SDK. So click on that, and then it should take you to this lovely little website here that says getting started with macOS Vulkan SDK. And then what you want to do is navigate to the top left, and whereby you can see the SDK link here, and then just click that, and it will take you to the download page. And then what you want to do is click on this beautiful Apple logo, and it will take you down to the version release section, whereby you can basically choose the version of Vulkan that you want. Now, I normally work with the latest versions of Vulkan, so what you want to do is click on the first version that you see, that is the latest as of the recording of this video, and then just click the download button. And since I already have this downloaded, I'm just going to cancel this, and then I'm going to double click on the one that I have already downloaded. So I'm just going to double click on that, and then I believe it will open something right here. Okay, so here it is. So just click on install Vulkan, and then just give it permissions and just open it. Since you downloaded from the official Vulkan website, everything should be okay. Next, what you want to do is just click next, and then here is the interesting part, right? So this is the location whereby this installer is going to install Vulkan at. Now, the default installation location on Mac, this one is actually good because I know where it is. But however, if you don't like installing it in this default location, you can change the default location to whatever you want. But I'm going to keep the default location, and the only adjustment that I'm going to make is changing these numbers to the word of Vulkan. Now, this saved me quite a lot of headaches because I had ended up having to remember which version of Vulkan I'm working with every time I basically reference the Vulkan SDK, and that kind of got annoying. So I just wanted to just simplify that by just simply writing Vulkan. Then I know that I'm instancing, or I'm basically referencing this version of Vulkan without having to specify the version every single time. So once you're done and satisfied with the location and the naming of your folders, just click next. Now, before you click next, you need to note this location down because we are going to need it for setting up the environmental variables. Okay, so click next. And then this is where you're gonna choose what you want to install. Now, normally it just depends. Are you really gonna need the Vulkan memory allocator header? If so, click it. Are you really gonna need the GLM headers? If so, then click yes. And then this one should always be selected since it's the system global installation. Okay, so yeah, and then once you have that selection selected, all you want to do next is just click next, and then click I accept the license, and then just click next, and then just say install. And then this is where you want to type in your password. Okay, and then just give the installer permission to essentially set up Vulkan and install it on your system. Now I'm going to skip to the end of this installation. So after the installation has been completed, you'll be greeted with this notice here, which says as of version 1.3.216 release, the Vulkan portability enumeration extension is being enforced by the Vulkan loader. Now, this is very important because most people will get a instance creation error, which says, something is not supported or it failed to find a driver, and that is because they failed to include the Vulkan portability enumeration extension. And I'm going to show you guys how to essentially do this once we start setting up the Vulkan project. So once you're good and you have read this little warning here or notice here, just click on close. And then what you want to do next is just click finish and then just close the installation here. And then just put back this window up like this. And then now what you want to do is navigate to the location whereby you have your Vulkan SDK installed. Okay, so now I know where it is. It's in my computer. So I'm just going to navigate to computer. Then I'm going to go down to users right here. And then I'm going to go root decoder. And then I know here it is. Okay, so this is where Vulkan got installed, right? So when I double click this, you'll see that name that I gave the folder, which is a Vulkan, and then when I double click that, I gain access to what's inside. And this is where essentially everything is stored. Okay, your libraries and your header files are in the macOS folder, so you'll essentially be referencing these two folders quite a lot. Okay, so next, now that we've installed the SDK, the next big step is to set up the environmental variables, right? This will make it easy for you to essentially access the location of the Vulkan SDK from anywhere on your system. Okay, so to do that, what you want to do is I'm just going to close my Finder window here, and then I'm going to reopen it again. Then I'm going to go up here where it says Go, and then I'm going to go down to Computer, and then I'm going to go to Macintosh HD, and then inside here I'm going to go down to Users, and then I'm going to find my base user account, which is the active one, which is root decoder. And then inside, this is where I'm going to find the Vulkan installation location, right? But this is not why I'm here, right? So why I'm here is we're gonna look for the .z bash file. So what you want to do is click on Shift Command period, okay? And then navigate down until you find the .zchrc file, okay? Now, if you don't have this file, you can simply just create it, okay? Yeah, you can simply just create it, okay? So this file is important for two reasons, right? This is where we're going to set up our environmental variables for Vulkan. Now, you have to make sure that it is called .zshrc. The spelling sort of matters, okay? Sort of matters, okay? Yeah, sort of matters, all right? So how do we set up our environmental variables? So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to this page, okay? Now, if you don't know how to get to this page, just go back onto Google. So let's just do that. Go back onto Google, search Vulkan SDK download for Mac, and then look for a link that says getting started with macOS Vulkan SDK. Okay, just click that, and it will take you to this page. Okay, so once you're here, right, you want to navigate down until you see something that says, let's just quickly find it. As soon as you see something that's related to Xcode, you're now in the right path. Okay, so just go down, and this is where you want to be. Okay, set up the runtime environment manually. Okay, so what you want to do is this .zshrc file, you want to open it. Okay, and then you want to open it in your text editor of choice. I'm gonna choose VS Code. Okay, so I'm gonna choose the VS Code. So let me just find it real quick. Here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna open it in Visual Studio Code. All right, so this is what we're looking for. Right now, I already pre-populated this, but you guys should be seeing something like this, an empty file. Okay, so I'm just gonna undo that, and we're gonna come back to this website here, right? So we're gonna set a convenience variable to point to the SDK. Okay, so to do that, you need to basically type export and then give that convenience variable a name. In this case, we gave it the name Vulkan SDK. However, you can call it whatever you want, and then we're gonna assign it to the location that we have the SDK installed. So what you want to do now is go ahead and find your terminal like this. Okay, just open it and just keep it on the side, right? just in case you forgot the location of your SDK, but you know where it is, right? This is it. Okay, so what you want to do now is open up your terminal, then drag that file where the SDK is stored in, and then this is the location that we want. Okay, but then notice that it's followed with a /macOS. Okay, so to get that /macOS, is either you type it in manually like this /macOS, but if you feel like you're gonna make spelling mistakes, then a better way of doing that is simply just opening the SDK download folder and then clicking on the macOS folder here, and then simply dragging that folder to your terminal like this. And now if you look at this path, it sort of resembles the example path given on the documentation. Okay, the Vulkan SDK location, and then inside there we have to navigate to the macOS folder. Okay, and we have done that right here. So what you want to do next is just copy this file, this location, and then go down to your z.chrc file and then just paste that location right here. Okay, so essentially what we did here is just basically copied this line and then we sort of like pasted it up here. Okay, and then the only thing we replaced it with is the location of our SDK. Okay, followed by the /macOS. Okay, very important, okay, that this location is accurate. Okay, next we come back to the website and then we add the bin directory to the path to make it easy to run Vulkan info and various GLS lang and SPIR-V tools. So we just copy this and then we paste it right here. Okay, so notice that I didn't really change much for this one. I just literally just copy pasted it as it is, because now it's referencing this Vulkan SDK variable and essentially it's just being used right here and then it's doing the right things. Okay, next what you want to do is also add the lib directory to your DUI lib library path. And then just what I did is simply just copy pasted this as well, and then I pasted it as the third line here. And then next we just set the ICD file names, so we just also just simply copy paste this and then pasted it in here. However, be careful because it says share now, okay, and it doesn't say macOS, so just make sure that you sort of like, you know, account for that. Okay, it says share and then it says a Vulkan, and if you notice very carefully, mine also says a Vulkan. Okay, and then it says icd.d molten vk icd.json. Now where is that location specifically? So if you just open up your SDK location, okay, so I'm already here, so just Vulkan SDK, Vulkan, then you're gonna go to macOS. So this SDK variable essentially just leads you to the macOS file, right, which is this. And then what we're saying now is navigate to the share folder, which is this one. So when we double click on that, you'll see that we're saying go to Vulkan. So when we go inside Vulkan, we'll essentially find the icd.d that we want, which is this guy right here. And then inside of that, so we double click that, we find the molten vkicd.json. So that's how you know that this path is correct. Okay, so make sure that it is correct. Okay, and not just copy paste it from the website. Okay, just make sure that it's correct. You need to double check. All right, and next you can also then copy paste this one and then paste it right here, and then also just double check if it's correct, so we know it's in the share folder. So if I navigate back, it's in the share folder, Vulkan, and then it's going to be explicit layer.d. Do we have an explicit layer.d? Yes, we do. So therefore it is the accurate location. So therefore now we can simply just save this file and then navigate back to our terminal here, and I'm just going to get rid of this path, right? And then what I want to do is just go back to where we have that .z file of ours, this one, .z.csh file. And then what I want to do is I'm just going to type in touch, and then I'm going to drag this file like this, okay? And then I'm going to click OK. and that's it. I'm done. Then I'm going to close my terminal, okay, and then open a new terminal, okay, and I'm going to test if the SDK installation was successful. So to test that, we simply just type in VKVIA. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my terminal, and we're going to say VK, right, VIA, and I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to give it a moment to do its thing, and then you'll see that it'll open up a window, and it's going to close it, and then open it up again, and then close it, and it's going to give you this message that says success. Okay, success. Vulkan analysis completed properly using Vulkan 1.2. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. You've successfully set up your Vulkan environmental variables, and now you can essentially access Vulkan from anywhere on your Mac machine. You can just open up a ton of different terminals and just access Vulkan from there. It'll work. Okay, now another test to do here is also just type in the Vulkan info command here. So I'm just gonna paste it in my terminal. Before I do that, I'm just going to clear, then paste it, then click OK. And then this will just simply give me all the Vulkan info related to my system and what my system essentially supports. Okay, so now you can see, okay, which portability subset feature do we have? We have 1, 2, and 3, and we don't have 1, 2, and 3, right? So that's just a handy feature to basically just type into your terminal to check which features you have supported on your machine and which features are not supported. Okay, so now that we know that Vulkan environmental variables have been properly set up, we can now move on to VS Code. So I'm going to create a new folder here, and then I'm going to create, well, I don't know, let's see, let's just create a new project. Okay, so where do I want to create this project? I want to create it in documents. And I guess I'll just create a new folder. Okay, so I'm going to create YouTube Vulkan here, and then inside this folder I'm just going to create test app. Okay, and this is what we're going to open up in Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to say yes, trust the authors, and then I'm going to put this in full screen mode. And what we can do now is we can create a makefile. Okay, we're going to create a makefile from scratch, just so that you guys can understand how easy it is to set up your own makefiles. So what we want to do is we want to have the build directory. Okay, so build directory, this is where you're going to essentially put your executable in. Okay, and then next we're going to do compiler flags like this. And then next we're gonna do linker flags like so, and then we're gonna do compiler flags, linker flags, and then let me just double check what we need actually here. Yeah, we need include flags, so include flags like this. Okay, and then we're gonna need the source files like so. Okay, so yeah, so we have compiler flags, include flags, linker flags, and source files. So compiler flags, include flags, linker flags, and source files. Okay, so yeah, so this sort of kind of resembles that. Okay, and next what you want to do is just create a build command. Okay, so we're just gonna do .phony here, and I'm gonna call this build like this, and I'm gonna do build, and then we're gonna do clang here, and then we essentially I'm just gonna copy paste this, okay, because I don't want to be typing all of this. You know what, since it is a step-by-step guide, let me just type it. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to link to your compiler flags. Okay, so you're gonna do compiler flags here, and then next you want to do your source files. Okay, so source files like so, and then once you have your source files, you want to output. Okay, so you're gonna do a dash O. This is not 0, it's O, right, which stands for output, and we want to output to the build directory. So build directory like this, and then we want to call the app or executable app, I guess, right? And then after that we can then do some include flags, and then we can also do some let's see, some linker flags. Okay, so I did that wrong, So you do this like this, linker flags. Okay, save. So so now this is our basic skeleton of our makefile. Okay, we haven't populated these yet. So before I do populate those, I want to create a folder, right? This folder will basically store the source file of our project that we're going to work on. And then inside of that, we're going to create a main.c file. And then we're just going to basically scaffold up something simple here. So stdoh. And then I'm going to do int main like so. And then we're going to do return the 0 like so. Okay. And just to test, I'm going to say printf. We're going to say hello Vulkan like this, and then I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to come back to my makefile. Okay, so I'm going to specify my source files. Okay, now I'm not going to type this. Essentially, you guys can just copy paste it as well. And what this does is just simply searches through your assembly, right? So we didn't give an assembly name. However, we can just give a variable here called assembly, and then we can sort of give that this name, which is the source file folder, right? So our assembly will be the source folder in this scenario. However, you guys can change this to anything that you want. For us, we know that everything will be inside the source folder, so it will be in that source folder, unless you did something like this. You can rename this to, let's say you're working on a game engine, so you can call it engine, and then inside that you can have another folder called source, and then just drag your main file in there, and then the engine kind of makes sense for that to then be your assembly, right? So yeah, I guess that kind of sort of like looks better. All right, so once we have the linkage to our source files, I don't know why it likes to open up the dictionary. Once we have the linkage to our source files, we can now play around with our compiler flags. Now I'm using C, so I'm going to do std, and I'm going to set this to 2cx. Okay, so C2x I'm in. All right, that's just the code that is used for C23, right? The newest version of C. Simply includes some new features that I like working with. Okay, now that's the only compiler flag I'm going to put for this video. And then we want to move on to include flags. Okay, now our include flags is whereby we're going to specify our header files, where are they located, and so forth and so forth. So our first header files are going to be for the engine. Okay, so we're just going to say isrc, or rather engine /src like this. Okay, and then I don't know. I don't know if this will make a difference, but we'll see. Okay, and then we can also give it the directory for our libraries if you're gonna have one. Since we don't have one in this tutorial, we're just gonna keep it like this. Actually, we are going to have one for the Vulkan, but yeah, let's just carry on. Okay, so next we're just gonna copy paste this 2 lines of code like so. Okay, so this essentially is the include folder, right, for our header files for Vulkan. Okay, now notice how we have this Vulkan SDK variable, and notice how it's not really defined in our makefile at all. Now our makefile is smart enough to detect that this variable is defined in somewhere else, right? In our environment, in our environmental variables. Okay, and that is all due to the fact that we have set up our .z.csh file, zshrc file. Okay, so when we open that again, it's actually open up in Xcode. I don't like Xcode. Let me just open up in a basic text editor. Okay, so we have this variable Vulkan SDK. So this is what our makefile is referencing. It's referencing this Vulkan SDK, which links to the location of our SDK installation folder. Okay, so that's all that is doing, and this is the convenience variable. Instead of having to type out the exact location, we just use a variable to substitute for that location. All right, and then now that we pointed out to our include file, we can now also point it out to our library file so that you can find the libraries that are Vulkan related. Okay, so next what you want to do here is essentially just type in the library that we're going to make use of, and it's going to be Vulkan. Okay, just like this. Yeah, it's going to be Vulkan. And then once you're done with that, I believe that's it. So let's just save our make file. And then up here, all you want to do is do this, vulkan/vulkan.h. Okay, and then just to test, I'm just gonna open up a new terminal up here, and then what I want to do is I'm just gonna call make, and it's gonna see if it's gonna build or not. Okay, so now we have errors here, so it says failed for bin/app. So we don't have the bin folder, and our make file, we didn't configure it in such a way that it will automatically create that bin folder. You can configure it, but in this video, I'm not going to do so. So I'm just going to create that folder manually. So bin, like so, and then I'm going to come back to my terminal, clear, and then I'm going to type make like this, and then we get no errors. Okay, so when we open up our bin folder, you'll see that our app is there. Okay, so what I can do is I can say // or I can cd into the bin folder, and then whilst I'm in the bin folder, I can say /app, and then it will run our app, and it will say hello Vulkan. So now that our app is working and we are including the Vulkan headers, it's not complaining, saying it's not finding them, we can now move ahead and try to make use of those headers to do something. Now, I already have a basic renderer set up in my different project, so I'm not gonna retype every single thing. So I'm just gonna type just about enough code. I'm just gonna copy paste just about enough code to get what we need done. So we're gonna try and create an instance. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy these lines of code. I'm just gonna paste it right here, and then we're gonna do the create info. So I'm just gonna paste that right here as well. And then let's see, what else do we need? We need the extensions. So I'm just gonna copy this like so. And then those are the extensions. Let's see, we're gonna need the portability bit KHR. Sorry about that. And then let's just paste that right there. And then next, we don't need the debug messenger. All we need to do next is essentially just create our instance, and that should be it. Okay, now I'm gonna have some errors here. So this is my own custom dynamic array. Since I don't have it in this project, we're gonna resort to the old school way of doing things. So I'm gonna go up here, and then I'm gonna do a UIint 32t, and then I'm gonna do extension count, which will keep count of our extensions. So extension count is equals to 3, but I'm gonna set that to 0 because we're gonna populate it soon enough. So next, what we want to do is we're just gonna malloc. Well, for now, we're just gonna leave it like this for now. And then I have this convenience function to get extensions for me automatically, but since I don't have that in this project, I'm just gonna get rid of that. Okay, and then what else do I need to do? And then here, then is the extension length, which is gonna say extension count, and then this will link up with this right here. And then let's see what we have. Then we're gonna need the VK instance. So let's come up here, and then we're gonna type VK instance like this, and then I'm gonna do instance like so. So now that we have the instance, I can get rid of this and simply just give it the instance that we defined above. And then all we then need is to populate these variables. So to do that, I'm just gonna malloc. Okay, so malloc it means I'm gonna have to import some standard C libraries. So that's gonna be stdlib for malloc functions, and then I'm gonna do size of const char, and then I'm gonna do, how many extensions do I need? I'm just gonna say 3 for now, and then I'm gonna do extensions, and I'm gonna say 0. It's gonna equals to this, I'm gonna close that, and I'm just gonna duplicate that 3 times. So 0, 1, 2, and then what I'm gonna do now, so I'm gonna come back to my project here. I'm gonna steal some code, okay, again. So I'm gonna go down to my platform code, and I believe it was in the platform macOS right here. So these are the extensions that I need. So I'm just gonna yoink that code and then just paste this here, and then I'm gonna take the name for these extensions like this, and then we're gonna pass those in like that. So copy paste those, and then we're done. Okay, so we can get rid of that. And then after we have that, what am I getting? Okay, yeah, okay, I forgot to set my colon. So what is next? Next, let me just get rid of this since we don't actually have that function anymore. So we've set up our extensions. We are referencing them here, and then we're referencing the extension count as well. So now is a good time to test if all of this works. So I'm gonna make, and then we're gonna see. Okay, yeah, okay, so this is in the main function, and even though it says return integer, we can't really return something that says return false. We can only return numbers, I guess. But anyway, it's fine. Just get rid of that line since we anyway copy pasted this from a different project. So after that change, let's retry and run this, and yes, it built successfully. Now, what you want to do is this time around, I'm not going to cd into that project. So I'm just going to say /bin/app. And then this should kind of like try and run my app, right? And you'll see that it says, hello, Vulkan, failed to create instance. Now, I'm putting this over here. So I like to have a space after that, just so that we can have some breather and so that this can be formatted properly. So I'm just going to save this. Okay, and then I'm gonna remake this again, and then I'm just gonna try and rerun this, and it's gonna say hello Vulkan, failed to create instance. Now it failed, but we don't know why. So in order for you to know why it failed, all you can do essentially is just create a variable called vk result. Okay, just call this one result like this, and then assign that to be equal to this function right here. So copy this and just paste it there. And then since you removed it here, we can just substitute it back in with that result variable. Okay, this essentially just means this. Okay, and we're just storing the result of that in this variable called vk result. Okay, so therefore now I'm just gonna close this off with a semicolon, and then we want to get this result code, okay, printed out. So here I'm just gonna put some colons there, and then I'm gonna substitute a variable that can print out a number. So then I'm gonna say result like this, and I'm gonna say save, and I'm gonna come back in my terminal and say make. Okay, then I'm just gonna open that app, and then it's gonna say hello Vulkan, and it's gonna say failed to create an instance, and it's gonna give me an error code. Now I presume that almost 95% of the time when you try to build or create an instance on a macOS operating system, you're gonna run into this error that says -9. Now if you don't know what this error is, I already know what it is, but let's just assume that you don't know what it is. You can just simply come back to Google and then just type in a Vulkan vk. You see it's already there, so vk result, and then just paste in the -9 like this, and then you want to go to the one that says vk result. Okay, and once you get to this page, you'll get a list of all the error codes that you can possibly get. Okay, so we got one that says -9, and that means that it's a VK error incompatible driver. So somehow, some way, we're not including all the required extensions to essentially build or create an instance on our machine. So what is wrong? So to debug this real quick, I've already included the necessary extensions. I know that I need these 3, and then I've also set my flags. So the only issues here. So we are linking with the extensions, right? This is properly being set. So yeah, the problem is here. Okay, so this is 0 and we have 3 extensions, but if you highlight this, you'll see it's highlighting this, and therefore it says 0 there. And basically what I'm doing is I'm passing in 0 here as well. Therefore, technically, it's not actually indexing any of these. right? Because it's 0. So it doesn't know the size of our extensions to enumerate through here. So I need to update the 0 to a 3 manually, right? However, I kind of automated this in my own project to sort of like figure out how to get the extension counts that are necessarily needed with the helper function, of course. But since I now know that I just need to update the extension count to 3, and I save this and I come back to my terminal, then I create make build. So either you type make like this, make, and then click OK, or you just explicitly type make build, it will do the same thing, right? The only reason why I'm only typing make is because I only have one function here, right? Which is the build function. And by default, when you call make, it will call the first function that you have, right? So in our case, we only have one. But if you had multiple, you basically have to specify which of the functions you want to do. Okay, so in my scenario, I'm going to add in another function here just so I don't have to always click run every single time. So what I'll do is I'll say only like this, and then I'll say run. Okay, and then this will be my run function, and it will just say bin app. So this is the location of my executable. Then I'm going to save that. And then when I clear my terminal real quick, when I clear my terminal real quick and I say make run, okay, it will try to run my project. Now, this is one of the errors that most people are also going to run into when we do it in this sense, okay? So what actually happens is when you type /bin/app, okay, you're going to basically run your app from the root folder, right? And you're just going to run it directly from the root folder, but then your app is located in the bin folder, okay? And what he's going to try and do is he's going to try and look for the libraries that your app essentially references and so on, right? And it's not going to find any, okay? Because of this relative path thingy. I assume the R stands for relative. I'm not 100% sure. So to solve a situation like this, number one thing that you can do, okay, is you can go back to this, to where you have your Vulkan SDK downloaded. And then what you want to do is go down to the macOS section, and then go down to the library section. And then you want to go down and scroll down until you find lib Vulkan with the version of Vulkan that you have. However, you're going to see that you have vulkan.1.dylib, which is what your arrow is actually about. But on Mac, if you see this arrow, it means it's an alias, meaning this is not really the real name. However, this alias points to this guy. So for security measures or for safety measures, you can just copy both of them. So you can just say copy like this. And then you can come down in your build folder here. And then you can just say reveal in Finder. And then in here, you can paste these two items, right? And then just, paste them in there. And then all you want to do now is try and run it again. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then there's a different solution to all of this, okay? So as you can see, I tried to run it again and it failed. Okay, so let me rerun or rebuild and then try and run it again, and it still failed, even though I pasted these two libraries in there. Okay, so your one and only solution now is to essentially just cd into the bin directory, then just simply call your app directly within the directory like this. So if you say /app, it should work. See, it works. Hello Vulkan, it works. Okay, and that's essentially how you run it in Visual Studio Code. However, you can also run it from the debugger, but that will require you to set up the .vs Code folder and set up your CPP properties and your launch scripts and everything like that. So we're not going to do this in this video. But if you are working on the terminal, this is how you actually get rid of this library not loaded error situation. So you just simply cd into the bin directory, which is the directory whereby you have your executable, and then run your executable directly within that directory instead. You understand? Because in this way, it won't work. It will try to look for this and it won't find it, because now you're not running it directly within the folder that it's situated in. I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, I'm not knowledgeable enough to really know or understand why it works that way. But if someone who has more knowledge than me and can explain it better than I do, do hit it up in the comment sections for others to actually understand why that is. So yeah, so yes, so our Vulkan instance has been created, and basically what we have on the screen here is hello Vulkan. Okay, so yeah, so that is it. So that is it, because if the Vulkan instance creation failed, it would have given us failed to create instance, and it would have given us the error code in which it failed with. So now that we know that it's working, this is essentially how you set up a Vulkan on your system. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna delete these two libraries that I pasted in there, because you don't really need them in there. It's a fix that works for the debugger and not the terminal. Yeah, and not the terminal. So okay, so just to double test that again, let's just see. Yes, it works. I cd back into my main project folder, and I make run my make file again, and then I try to run my app. So yeah, there we go. It'll work. See, it works, and you don't need those lib libraries in there anyway. It just works. So yeah, that's it, guys. That is how you set up Metal on a macOS system. So I've essentially showed you guys how to download the SDK, install the SDK, set up your environmental variables, and also how to create a simple Vulkan project, and then link with the Vulkan headers and the SDK library itself within your make file, and also have the include headers and the library headers, library files included in your build system. So yeah, so this is it. So I'm just gonna get rid of this since we don't really need it for this video, and that is it. So I'm gonna leave this hanging for a bit, and then you guys can screenshot that, and then I'm gonna leave this bit also hanging for a little bit, so you guys can just sort of screenshot, and then just go ahead and implement this on your own and see if you manage to create a Vulkan instance. So if you followed along step by step, it should work. Okay, and if you fail, then I don't know, because yeah, everything you need, I just supplied it, and that's it. So cheers.